Hello, this is Katherin welcoming you to the 2186th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 11th of April 2019. The readers this week are Ros, Maureen, Romany, Katherin, with Hass on the controls. The editor was Katherin. The production and distribution team is Phillip, Ali and Alan. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Brewer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from the Enfield Independent and the Palmer's Green and Southgate magazine, and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. The lead story this week: work starts on £27 million HQ in town centre. Before the news, the sunrise and sunset times for the week beginning the 15th of April. Sunrise is at 6:06 and sunset, listen to this wonderful piece of news, 19:57, that's almost 8 p.m. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. And just before we begin, a special reminder that there will be no recording next week because of the Easter break. Now, Ros will read the first item of local news.
Work starts on the £27 million HQ in town centre. Work has begun on a £27 million new headquarters for global communications firm Metaswitch in Enfield Town. The 5-storey office block will provide space for up to 500 employees, including the company, which was founded in Enfield in 1981, to expand its operations. As well as office space, the 66,000 square foot building will feature a cafe, a state-of-the-art data centre and a rooftop conference centre, as well as a basement car park. The office block is being built on the Jennerton Road car park in centre of Enfield Town. Councillors approved the plans in November after Metaswitch agreed to allow the public to use their company's car park on weekends and weekday evenings. Enfield Council wants to ensure the borough, which has the lowest median gross weekly pay level for full-time workers in London, that jobs will be created with a high-skilled factor. Metaswitch will sign a 15-year lease once the building is complete, raising more than £5.7 million for the local authority. Chief Executive Martin Lund said, "Metaswitch is delighted to be working with Stoford and McLaren Construction to create a standout working environment for our employees and our visitors. This will give us a stunning building which will help us attract and retain the best talent to maintain our position as one of the world's best in our field. It is a very exciting project for us and we are very grateful to Enfield Council for its assistance in making it possible."
New rules for Labour following complaints. The Labour Party is to tighten up its oversight of internal party processes in Enfield following an investigation into the local Labour group. Labour's governing body, the National Executive Committee, has agreed 13 measures aimed at improving local democratic procedures, including membership checks at meetings and restrictions on who is allowed to vet candidates for council elections. The measures are set out in an email to members seen by the Enfield Independent, which also suggests some individuals could face disciplinary action. The NEC launched an investigation into Enfield Labour Group in November after receiving a range of complaints relating to last year's local elections. These included allegations of irregularities in the process of selecting candidates deemed suitable to stand for election as councillors. Labour initially said that it was satisfied the selection process took place in line with Labour's rules and procedures. but an investigation was finally launched after several councillors, including cabinet members, called on the National Party to take action. The email, which was sent out last week by Labour's Governance and Legal Unit, states that the NEC has agreed that no existing councillor or potential council candidate should be involved in the arrangements for the next local government selection process. It states this includes having responsibility for administrative tasks, arrangements for panel interviews, the handling and photocopying of applications, ballot papers and other paperwork, or the membership checks at selection meetings. The email adds that further training and guidance should be provided for independent selection panels to ensure greater consistency in scoring and mandatory questions. Following last year's council elections, Southgate constituency Labour Party raised concerns that essential questions were not asked of several candidates. The Southgate constituency Labour Party's concerns were focused on Secretary of the National Campaign Forum, Councillor Nazil Kaliskan, who is now council leader, and Procedures Secretary Ian Hamilton, both of whom played a role in administering the candidate interview process. The email states that the NEC will oversee the next local government selection process and will carry out full membership checks at all meetings. The email also outlines measures to ensure people from a diverse range of backgrounds are included in the Labour Party. It follows complaints that 5 sitting black and minority ethnic councillors were deselected during last year's local elections.
It all adds up to success. The 8th of April is the 98th day of 2019 and 231.2 months or 7,037 days since the beginning of the 21st century. Did you know April the 8th is also special because it's a hot date in Mathematics and Statistics Awareness Month? What began in America in 1986 as a grassroots initiative to encourage more people to study maths and use it in their daily lives is now an annual, month-long program of events. Exhibits, lectures, science fairs and open days are being hosted by colleges, universities, libraries and public groups. While American academics celebrate all things involving numbers, an American professor has become #1 as the first woman to be awarded for the Abel Prize, one of the world's most prestigious international mathematics awards. Professor Karen Keskula-Uhlenbeck of the University of Texas at Austin has been appointed the Gong, regarded by many as the Nobel Prize in mathematics and worth $704,000 by the Norwegian Academy of Science and Letters in Oslo. It's a win that will inspire many females around the world who are keen to follow in her footsteps and study the science of numbers. Here in the UK, both Professor Uhlenbeck's win and Mathematics and Statistics Awareness Month are certainly motivational for anyone, female and male, who are interested in studying and pursuing careers in science, technical engineering and mathematics. These are called STEM, S-T-E-M subjects. This is of huge importance as these are all increasingly important to the UK's economy and play an increasingly significant role in many of our job sectors, as can be seen in the wide variety of vacancies on WM1 Jobs. From cybersecurity and renewable energy, sustainability to medical miracles and manufacturing milestones, mathematics and statistics are the building blocks in many of the UK's job sectors. With so many job seekers, from young school leavers to late career changers, all determined to use the power of mathematics and statistics to enter these new professions, how does the arithmetic of seeking jobs actually add up? Well, let's first take a look at the current market. The latest available figures available from the Office for National Statistics, in brackets ONS, show the estimated number of vacancies in the UK fell sharply during the recession of 2008 to 2009, but has increased steadily since 2012. For December 2018 to February 2019, there were an estimated 854,000 vacancies in the UK. That's 39,000 more than a year earlier. The largest vacancy rates were to be found in the accommodation and food service and information and communication sectors. The industries show the smallest vacancy rates were those of public administration and defence. Some ONS number crunching also showed more good news for job seekers. Excluding bonuses, average weekly earnings for employees in the UK were estimated to have increased by 3.4% before adjusting for inflation and by 1.4% after adjusting for inflation, compared with a year earlier. Those in healthcare, perhaps not surprisingly, tend to work the longest hours, while, according to the Accountancy Age Salary Survey 2080, accountants who are part of a practice work an average of 42.09 hours a week. Industry accountants, meanwhile, work 43.05 hours a week, showing that accountancy professionals really do drill down into their numbers. Another study from the Association of Accounting Technicians, in brackets AAT, suggests many of us work even longer. Its poll suggests employees across a range of industries work for an average of 34 hours and 20 minutes a week, adding up to a total of 1,795 hours a year. That's an astonishing 34,365 hours in a lifetime. Meanwhile, the actual act of job hunting comes with its very own set of life-filling statistics. For example, the AAT poll also found we think about quitting our jobs 16 times per year, whilst in reality, the most jobs we will have in our lifetimes average no more than 6. Then there are many reasons given for wanting to change jobs, and not surprisingly, coming in at number 1, it is a desire to earn a higher salary. Other boxes to be ticked on a new job wish list are enjoying less stress, improved perks, a better work-life balance, and more interesting and fulfilling duties. Such workplace aspirations mean job changes are more frequent today, and so it's more important than ever before for job seekers to use experts in recruitment such as X1 Jobs. You can make a job change at any point in your life, with people of all ages and backgrounds looking for a fresh start. But why not visit WM1 Jobs and see if your numbers all add up to an exciting new career?
Public health funding, a sham. The government's 2018 to 19 funding allocation for public health in Enfield is being branded a sham and a scandal by Enfield's Over 50s Forum. The grant has been cut to £47 per head of the borough's ever-increasing population, the 10th lowest in London, where the average is £73 per head. The Forum have said, "It is scandalous that we are getting so much less than 3 of the boroughs which are our partners in healthcare and whose aim is to end inequalities across north-central London." 2 of Enfield's MPs, Joan Ryan, Enfield North, and Bambos Charalambos, Enfield Southgate, have joined the Forum in challenging the Department of Health and Social Care funding decision and will be questioning Matt Hancock, the Secretary of State. The Forum has also asked Duncan Selby, the Chief Executive of Public Health England, to meet a deputation, and it is asking both the Labour and Conservative Party leaders on Enfield Council to send a cross-party message appealing to the government.
Scheme to tackle city's toxic air is welcomed. The ultra-low emission zone is a major move in tackling toxic air in the capital, a politician has said, as the initiative launched its central London on Monday. Within the ULEZ, drivers whose cars do not meet certain emission standards, they must pay a £12.50 charge to drive in central London. The zone is set to be expanded to the north and south circular roads in October 2021, and Joanne McCartney, London Assembly member for Enfield and Harrogate, welcomed the move. She said, "Today marks a major move forward in tackling the capital's toxic air, which contributes to the early deaths of almost 10,000 Londoners per year and stunts children's lungs. Toxic air is nothing less than a public health emergency and requires urgent and radical action." Ms McCartney also said that the emission zone meant London is heading in the right direction to meet its targets of zero emissions from road transport by 2017. She added, "We can't solve our air pollution problem alone. We do need the government to come on board to further boost the Mayor's £48 million vehicle scrappage fund to support small businesses, charities and low-income Londoners." Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, also welcomed the emission zone, saying, "Our toxic air is invisible killer, responsible for one of the biggest national health emergencies of our generation. This is also about social justice. People in the most deprived parts of London, who are least likely to own a car, suffer the worst effects of harmful air pollution. I will not stand by and watch children grow with underdeveloped lungs in our city."
Council's new approach for housing schemes. Enfield Council will work with smaller building firms on its future housing schemes in a bid to avoid setbacks that have dogged a recent project. Small and medium-sized firms are thought to be a better bet than big contractors when it comes to building homes on smaller sites, according to a council report. The council will also look to simplify design and construction and tighten up its negotiation stance in a bid to reduce the risks it faces for construction projects. The measures are outlined in a report to the Council's Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the first phase of the small site project. The scheme was designed to provide 94 homes on 7 sites across the borough, and construction began in 2014. But the project soon ran into difficulty when one of the main contractors, Climate Energy, went bust the following year. This led to delays and cost overruns as the council was forced to find a new contractor, and some half-built homes had to be pulled down due to weather damage. The council has reviewed the project and plans to change its approach to future housing schemes to stop the problems from recurring. Joanna Drew, the council's Director of Housing and Regeneration, told OSC on Wednesday, Small site delivery is least attractive from a developer's perspective. It's finicky and time-consuming for a very small output. The government has announced funding to develop small and medium building capacity. We want to nurture local SME developers and help them by making their job very simple. They want to have a clear brief about the house they have to build and to get on with the job of building it. A report by Paul White, the council's housing development manager, reveals the council packaged up the houses on the small site scheme to suit bigger contractors. But this led to problems for the firms, including difficulties coordinating transport between different sites. The report says smaller packages of sites tendered to SME contractors may be a better approach. Ms. Drews said that the council was aware the project came with a range of risks, but added, all the risk materialised in one go. The report states that the collapse of climate energy was due to a sudden, unexpected change in central government policy following the 2015 general election. This led to the loss of key members of staff, which meant designs were left undeveloped or information lost. Mr. White told the committee that the remaining homes on phase 1 of small site scheme will finally be finished in July.
Man charged following 5 Enfield stabbings. A man has been charged with 5 counts of attempted murder following a series of knife attacks in North London. Jason Katherin, 29, from Cameron Close, Edmonton, was due to appear in custody at Highbury Corner Magistrates Court on Friday. The 5 stabbings happened in the area between Saturday, March the 30th, and Tuesday, April the 2nd. A man in his 30s was left in a critical condition when he was stabbed in Fairfield Road in the latest incident. It followed the stabbing of 4 people in Edmonton, in the Edmonton area, over one weekend that left 2 critically hurt and 1 with potentially life-changing injuries.
Woman murdered in the street. A woman has been murdered in the street. Police were called to Brookbank, Turkey Street, in Enfield at 5:49 p.m. on April the 7th by the London Ambulance Service. The victim, a woman in her 20s, was found injured in the street and was pronounced dead at the scene. Met officers have arrested a man on suspicion of murder. He was arrested nearby the scene and has been taken to a North London police station. Next of kin have been informed. A post-mortem examination and formal identification will take place in due course. Residents are encouraged to speak with officers if they have any information which could help with inquiries or if they have any concerns. Or they can call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111.
And here's an article by MP for Edmonton Kate Ossamer setting out her view on a subject we simply can't avoid these days. It's called Searching for a Way Out of the Brexit Crisis. Our country is in crisis. With Parliament unable to find a way forward again this week, we seem to be more divided than ever. And yet, if there's one thing uniting people across the political spectrum, it's a feeling of Brexit fatigue, of wanting this moment to end. But Britain's departure from the EU wouldn't spell the end of the Brexit crisis. It would only be the beginning. And any kind of Brexit means 10 more years, just like the last 3 we've had, of chaos, uncertainty and cuts to schools and our NHS. In Edmonton, 1,500 of my constituents would lose their jobs if we crash out without a deal next week, research by the University of Sussex shows. And this number only halves if we leave with a soft Brexit. Make no mistake about it, Brexit can never be a jobs-first project. Brexit is a Tory creation and therefore a Tory problem. It always has been. Only Labour can solve our country's problems, and we can focus on those much better if we stay in the EU. I am proud to be working towards a socialist government at home, but as part of Europe, our party can achieve something even greater. We must lead the fight on the European left for a progressive climate agenda, a compassionate European refugee policy, and a radical plan to advance rights to avoid a race to the bottom. Labour can rebuild and reform Europe. That's why I've joined up with a host of other radical Labour MPs to form Love, Socialism, Hate, Brexit. We are taking a stand with Labour members and activists everywhere in the fight against a disastrous Brexit, campaigning for the kind of Labour government needed to heal our country.
Find out more about Meridian Water Project at the Council's upcoming events. Enfield Council is holding 2 free information events where people can find out more about Meridian Water and its progress. The events are taking place at Angel Community Centre, 48 Raynham Road, Edmonton, on Tuesday, April the 23rd, between 3 p.m. and 7:30 p.m, and on Saturday the 18th of May, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. The 6 billion Meridian Water Project will deliver 10,000 new homes and 6,000 jobs, a new station, and critical supporting infrastructure in the heart of Enfield. Work is nearly complete on the new train station, which is due to open in May, and visitors to the event will be able to see images and models of what the project will look like and find out more about what's in the pipeline. At the first event, the Council would also like to find out attendees' views on the Housing Infrastructure Fund bid and the Phase 2 planning application. And at the second event, it would like to get views on health facilities in Meridian Water. The project team will be at both of the events to provide information and answer any questions residents may have. Enfield Council's leader, Councillor Nessel Callisgan, said, "This is a great opportunity for people to find out more about one of the most exciting developments in London. We are forging ahead with Meridian Water, and we are keen to showcase our plans to the world. So this gives people in the borough the chance to come along and find out about this amazing project, which will be changing the face of Enfield for years, forever."
Right, so have your say on air quality plan. Residents will be invited to have their say on a 5-year plan to improve air quality in the borough. Haringey's Council Air Quality Action Plan will look to cut the level of harmful emissions that can contribute to serious health problems such as heart disease and cancer. Levels of harmful pollutants are particularly high near busy main roads such as Tottenham High Road and Wood Green High Road. The action plan includes measures to improve air quality in and around schools, encouraging walking zones that make it safer to travel to school on foot. No idling zones, preventing drivers from leaving their engines running when their vehicles are stationary, also form part of the plans. There are proposals to retrofit council-owned buildings with insulation and new boilers to improve their energy efficiency, along with measures to ensure green spaces are provided on new developments. The council's fleet could also be updated to include more hydrogen, electric, hybrid and biomethane vehicles. A public consultation on these and a range of other measures set out in the plan will be launched in May and run for 8 weeks. Councillor Kirsten Hearn, Cabinet Member for the Environment, said, "At the last full council, we declared a climate emergency, and the air quality action plan is a pivotal part of challenging the issues that face us. Air quality affects all of us in different ways. Our children are going to school in very highly polluted places. We have to do something about that, if they are not going to grow up damaged by our environment. Poor air quality affects older and disabled people, shortening many people's lives. We can't have that. We are welcome to have conversations with you about how we are going to tackle this issue together.
Siblings pay tribute to Mum with charity walk. A brother and sister are commemorating the memory of their late mother by taking part in an overnight charity walk. Daniel and Amy Bolton are in training to complete the 26.2-mile power walk for the Moonwalk London on Saturday, May the 11th. The siblings, aged 21 and 19, who lost their mother Teresa to breast cancer almost 10 years ago, aim to raise lots of money for the charity. Mr. Bolton said, "My mum first had breast cancer about 12 years ago. She was successfully treated, but then sadly just 2 years later, the breast cancer returned. It was only about 4 months after her secondary diagnosis that Mum passed away. I remember how positive Mum was throughout everything. She was always thinking of others and wanting to help people. She had such a bubbly personality." Organised by breast cancer charity Walk the Walk, the Moonwalk welcomes people to dress in brightly decorated bras to symbolise unity in fighting the disease. Set up in 1996, the annual walk has raised more than £128 million. The Boltons' mother took part in the Moonwalk in 2008, shortly after being diagnosed, and they have continued to take part every year since 2017. Each year, the duo has chosen a theme for their underwear designs and have chosen disco for the 2019 event. Miss Bolton, 19, said, "We miss Mum greatly at special events like birthdays, results days, and even little moments when all you want is your mum to be there to stand by your side or congratulate you. But we always know she's in our hearts and her soul will always be a part of us." Over the last 2 years, the siblings have raised around £8,000 and aim to raise another £5,000 this year.
And here's some local sport. Ossei's medal and world record double. Enfield athlete TJ Ossei sprinted to a bronze medal at the World Masters Championships in Turin. Ossei also broke the world record on the way to gold in the 4x200 metre relays with his teammates Richard Beardsall, Brett Rund and Dominic Bradley. The 11-time Masters champion competed in the M40 category at the championships, with gold in his individual 60-metre race going to Olympic silver medalist Francis Opikwelu and silver to Lionel Martinez. Ossei combines his competing with being the chairman at the Be Fit Today Track Academy, based at Lee Valley Athletics Centre in Edmonton, and the Jim Peters Stadium in Barking.
Ignatians foul to beat drop. Enfield Ignatians were relegated on the final day of the London 2 North West season after a 6-5 loss away at Grasshoppers. Ignatians were reliant on other results going their way as well as their own, but Letchworth Garden City's 18-14 win against Hemel Hempstead ensured that there was no way back for Enfield. Head coach Shane Manning said, "It is what it is. It sucks and there's nothing we can do about it. The aim is to come back bigger and better next season." Michael Hall scored their only point of the day when he drove over for a try before the break. Ignatians began the game under constant siege from their hosts and defended resolutely as they battled to avoid the drop, but they were able to break through and take a 3-point lead. After 16 minutes, the visitors took the lead, much to their delight, as number 8, Hall, picked up the ball from the back of a 5-metre attacking scrum and drove over the line to make it 5-3. Ignatians, however, continued to concede penalties, and the Grasshoppers' fly half landed his second kick towards the goal to give his side a 6-5 lead at the break. Both sides continued to produce a scrappy encounter in the second half, and although Ignatians perhaps lived on the dangerous side more often, their defence managed to hold firm. Their attack, though, missed 2 kickable penalties through Jake Bates and Jack Wilson, as they were both off target.
Towners' slide continues after third straight loss. Enfield Town tumbled further down the Bostik League Premier Division table after a 2-1 defeat at Kingstonian consigned them to a third consecutive defeat. Stunning goals from Aaron Lamont and Delano Sam York, either side of half-time, put the home side in control, with Dan Ruman's header not enough to spark a comeback. Joe Wright returned in goal for the Towners, with Joe Payne, Jay Porter and James Mully also coming in, while Josh Davison partnered Bilal Sayoud up front in place of Kizi Eeb. The home side dominated all of the early possession, meaning it took 7 minutes for Town to mount their first real attack, but Billy Bricknell's effort from the edge of the area went just wide. A similar passing move shortly after saw Mickey Parcell crossing the near post, but his delivery was easily dealt with by Rob Tolfree. The K's then went up to the other end and opened the scoring in glorious fashion when Lamont picked up the ball from about 40 yards, took a touch and unleashed an unstoppable effort that flew past right into the top corner. Rumans found himself in possession deep in Kingstonian's half on 38 minutes and slipped the ball into Bricknell, whose shot was deflected out for a corner, which Sam Youngs headed over the bar. Davison also headed over the target shortly after when he got on the end of Porter's delivery. The 1-0 scoreline at the break was by no means disastrous, but it got worse just 5 minutes after the restart when Rumans lost a 50-50 ball on the edge of the area to Sam York, who then managed to volley over Wrights to double the K's lead. Lewis Taff was the next Town player to have a chance when he chested down Porter's excellent cross, but he scuffed his final effort into the keeper's hands, and Bricknell spurned another opportunity not long after when his tame header was kept out. The pressure was all one way as the game neared its conclusion, with Enfield pushing to try and get something from it, and they finally found the net with 14 minutes to play when Sam Cheney curled in a perfect free kick for Rumans to flick home and spark a nervy final period for Kingstonian. Eeb and Wright both had chances towards the end that were kept out by a now resolute K's defence, and Youngs had the final opportunity to draw his side level but found a home defender in the way of his effort. The final whistle ensured a first win in 14 for the hosts, who moved up to 14th in the table while Enfield dropped to 11th. The Towners next face AFC Hornchurch tonight in the final of the Velocity Trophy before hosting Carshalton Athletic in the Bostik League Premier Division on Saturday.
And now for some letters, and this first is actually information from Beverly Taylor, the chair of Community Review Panel Affinity Water, and it's entitled Apply for Funding. Community groups and charities in the area can now apply for funding from our Affinity Water Community Engagement Programme. The funding we offer is particularly for projects which support sustainable water use, have a positive environmental impact, or help disadvantaged groups in the community. Applications must be for specific projects, not general fundraising, and will be reviewed by a team of people from across the company after the closing date of the 24th of May. We are a community-focused organisation serving local people, and we want to be involved in projects which benefit the communities we serve, so we would like as many organisations as possible to have the chance to benefit from this programme. We encourage them to visit our website to apply, and that's www.affinitywater.co.uk/apply. community engagement.
And here's another letter from Eileen Trotter of Enfield, who calls her letter, entitles it Frustrating New System. Why has a visit to attend an appointment at Chase Farm Hospital become such a frustrating event? If you are going for a blood test, for instance, you would look for that on a sign and follow it as with any other department. But now you have to figure out zones, then doors with letters and numbers. Why? Bearing in mind that most people attending are poorly and often elderly, this has become a nightmare. I would like whoever created this new system to go and sit in outpatients and see the flow of people walking up and down, trying to find where they should be. Even the doctors and staff find it chaotic and suggest you complain. I have no complaint with the treatment received, just the stupid system that is upsetting when you are not very well.
And now a letter from Councillor Nestle Calliskin, leader of Enfield Council. It's in response to the stabbings. Dear residents, I'm writing to you following the 5 serious stabbing incidents that have occurred in the N18 area of Edmonton over the weekend and into Tuesday of last week. My thoughts are with the victims and their families. We have all been deeply unsettled following this seemingly random and unprovoked attack on local people in our borough. I hope that I can give you some assurance from Enfield Council and update you on the role we play in supporting the police when events like this occur. The response to events of this nature are led by the police, and the role of the council is to do everything we can to support them in their investigations. Council officers are in daily dialogue with the police, and I remain in direct contact with the borough commander. Over the past few days, we've assisted the police with their inquiries by providing any helpful information we may have come across at our local council departments. Council officers, together with the police, have also been providing community support and reassurance where we can. But I know whilst police investigations are in progress, residents across Enfield continue to feel anxious. The police are deploying extra officers into the area, many coming from other parts of London. Extra police and specialist resources, both uniformed and plain clothes, are in Edmonton area. A Section 60 notice has been requested and issued. This means that police officers can use enhanced search powers should they be required. Over the past few months, the borough has experienced too many incidents involving young people and violence. However, the police have confirmed that the latest incident in Edmonton are not being treated as gang-related. It's also been confirmed that arrests have been made in connection with the recent attacks, and the investigation is progressing at pace. There are 5 crime scenes, meaning that there is a significant amount of CCTV and forensic material to collate and assess, which police officers are working to process as fast as possible. I know the most important thing to you is to feel safe in the borough and that we are all able to return to our daily routines as swiftly as possible. The police are not advising people to stay indoors, but are asking you to be alert and aware of your surroundings. In the meantime, if you have any information that can help with the investigation, however small, please report it to the police on 101. If you feel under threat, please contact the police on 999 immediately.
And this finally is a letter from Martin Houghton Brown, who's the Chief Executive at St John's Ambulance, and he would like us to nominate a hero. St John's Ambulance is on the hunt for the nation's lifesavers, help heroes and community stars ahead of its 2019 Everyday Heroes Awards. Hosted for the second year by the Reverend Richard Coles, The awards celebrate those who have bravely stepped forward in the moments that really matter, saving lives with first aid or impacting community health through volunteering. Last year's winners included a teenager who came to the rescue of a stabbing victim outside her home, a father and son team who saved the life of a former Olympic boxer when he collapsed on their golf course, and a football medical team who have successfully resuscitated 5 patients who have suffered cardiac arrest at their stadium since it opened. The awards recognise inspiring people, groups or teams in 3 categories: Young Hero, Community Hero and Workplace Hero. They will also reward outstanding contributions from St John's Ambulance volunteers. The awards ceremony will take place at the Hilton London Bankside on Monday, 7th of October 2019. For more information about the awards and details of how to nominate, visit the St John Ambulance website at www.sja.org.uk/nominate.
And here's an item of local news, very local news, from our local magazine, entitled Past Times, the Walker Ground, a jewel at the heart of Southgate, hidden from view but open to all. And the article is composed by Chris Horner, who's a Walker trustee, and it has been abridged from the newly published book The Walkers of Southgate and Middlesex, A Cricketing Fraternity, which is by Peter Juning and is available to purchase from the Walker Ground Pavilion office. The Walker Ground is a 16-acre sports ground located on Waterfall Road, opposite Christchurch in the heart of Southgate, held in trust since 1907 for the people of Southgate, to be used for sports and recreation activities. The ground is home to Southgate Cricket Club, Southgate Adelaide Cricket Club, Southgate Adelaide Hockey Club, Southgate Squash and Racquetball Club, Oak Hill Tigers Football Club, Southgate Rugby Club, Ammonia Youth Football Club, the 6 Southgate Scouts and the Southgate World Lawn Tennis Club. The Walker Ground, formerly known as Chapel Fields, formed part of the Walker family home estate, Arnos Grove. The ground was given by Russell Donathorne Walker, the last surviving brother of a cricketing dynasty of 7 brothers, and this is their remarkable story. The Walkers are the only family in the world known to have provided 7 brothers to play for a first-class cricket team. Isaac Walker, the grandson of the original owner of Arnos Grove, and his wife Sophia, had 12 children, 5 daughters and 7 sons. Isaac Walker was a most imposing figure, strolling around Southgate village, dressed in silk stockings and knee breeches, befitting his role as an old-fashioned country squire. The Walker boys were encouraged to play cricket by their uncle, and initially learnt how to play cricket at their respective prep schools. Isaac was a director of the Taylor Brewing Company and had married into the Taylor family of the neighbouring Grovelands Park estate. The union of the 2 families led to the formation of the Taylor Walker Brewing Company. Some may say that the Walker brothers were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, as they lived in the grandest and most imposing house for miles around, Arnos House on Cannon Hill, set in 300 acres of green pasture and woodland. Others may say that the brothers were born holding 7 cricket bats. They were all great enthusiasts of the noble game of cricket and encouraged people, young and old, to play. Where necessary, they would fund matches and provide hospitality for the visiting teams. Southgate Cricket Club was formed in 1855, and a second team, Southgate Adelaide, specifically for the villagers of Southgate, was formed in 1870. The contribution that the Walker brothers made to cricket was considerable. As founding members played and as presidents of Middlesex County Cricket Club. They were also MCC participating team players, selectors, and Teddy Walker was a president of the Marylebone Cricket Club. In 1866, Middlesex CCC won the county championship for the first time, and Captain Teddy Walker led from the front. During the same year, the county team, including John Walker, almost beat the touring Australian team, losing by 1 wicket. 12 years later, the club won the county championship under Jonathan Walker's captaincy. W.G. Grace was one of many famous cricketers invited to play at the Walker Ground, and in 1868, at the age of 20, played for the United South against John Walker's 15 team, with a crowd of 10,000 people watching. Teddy Walker had been regarded as the best all-round cricketer of his time until W.G. Grace appeared on the scene, and for a couple of years they were on a par. The first organised county match played by Middlesex was against Kent in 1859 at Southgate. The full Middlesex side did not return to the Walker Ground until 1991, after a break of 132 years, when they entertained Kent in a Sunday League match. The county then used the ground regularly between 1998 and 2011, playing over 20 games. The first 4-day county match was against Essex and was notable for a fine innings of 241 by Mike Gatting in his last season of county cricket. This remains the highest individual score on this ground by a home batsman. In 1907, at the age of 65, the last of the 7 brothers, Russell Donithorne Walker, gave the Walker Ground to be held in trust, to be used for sport and recreation. He sold Arnos Grove and moved away from Southgate, passing away in 1922. Since then, the ground has been managed by a board of trustees and now operates as a charitable trust. Cricket has been played there for over 160 years, and the trustees have honoured the wishes of the Walker family and continue to promote the playing of a wide variety of sports and welcome new members, visitors and volunteers. The ground has evolved over the years and now offers bar and catering facilities in the pavilion, which is open every day, and details can be found on the Walker website, which is www.thewalkerground.co.uk.
And here's an article written by Erica Crawshaw, who is the Neighbourhood Inspector for Enfield Borough. She says, firstly, I'd like to explain the opportunities for you to be able to meet your neighbourhood officers. Each week, they hold an hour-long contact session where you can discuss any issues you may have with crime or antisocial behaviour. This can be in the form of a cuppa with a copper or park runs that we attend in Grovelands Park on Saturday mornings. Police Constable Special Officer Jenny Arkwright is one of those very special officers who has been working in Palmer's Green for a number of years. The officers use Twitter and their own local live web pages to advertise these sessions, as well as local police updates, and importantly, you can now contact your local officer by their local web page. We have seen a rise in robbery in Southgate, particularly around Chase Side, which peaked in November with 19 reported robberies. This did reduce to 5 in December, but unfortunately has increased to 11 and 10 respectively in the last 2 months. This is a ward priority in Southgate, and the robberies are mainly targeted towards school children, and we are working with our school officers and roads and transport officers to work on the prevention, detection and deterrence of suspects, as we know that some offenders use the public transport network to travel to Southgate to target pupils. We encourage parents and children to report these offences as soon as possible so that we can apprehend offenders at the earliest opportunity. We receive many complaints about begging along the A406 and along Green Lanes, and Palmer's Green and Southgate Green officers have been focusing on this and have been working with Enfield Council enforcing the Public Spaces Protection Order, which prohibits intimidatory and aggressive begging. A number of beggars are not homeless and are part of an organised crime group who move around the borough, and we do not advocate giving money to any beggars. To finalise, antisocial behaviour can now be reported online, so do visit www.met.police.uk/report-antisocial-behaviour.
Can you help spring clean Palmer's Green? It's an appeal by the Palmer's Green Action Team. Last autumn, local resident Claudia was asked by the Green Lanes Business Association to market the Christmas event. She, together with other local residents, Dana, Justine, Heather and Christine, worked tirelessly on the project, visiting all the shops and asking them to get involved. Claudia had the brilliant idea of having the shops decorate their windows and put on a contest for the children to vote for their favourite. There was a great turnout, and the children seemed really excited to see all of the window displays. All of this was done in a short space of time, and we were so pleased with the results, we've decided to continue. Now we have more people joining our team, as they too are invested in our community. Our aim is to continue to partner with local business and other community groups to boost the energy of the High Street, as well as to bring our community together overall. Our focus is positivity and inclusion. We do not have any specific affiliation with any particular business or groups, but aim to work collaboratively with everyone for the benefit of our community. We have some ideas for upcoming events and would like to hear ideas from other people in Palmer's Green. We would particularly love to contact with local artists for some of our projects. You will soon see our temporary exhibition in the vacant Montclair shop next to the Fox Public House. Many thanks to Dominivs, developers of the Fox, for this opportunity. Our next solo project is our Spring Clean Palmer's Green on Saturday the 11th of May. We're asking our volunteers to assemble at the Triangle at 10 a.m. Clean Up UK is providing equipment such as gloves, graffiti wipes and litter pickers. Enfield in Bloom is also donating some supplies to help us tidy up the green areas. Papa John's will have some free pizza samples as well, and we hope to see you there. If you'd like to volunteer, please contact Palmer's Green Action Team at gmail.com.
And this is a parliamentary comment by Bambos Charalambos, MP, and this is with regards to the school funding crisis. It is clear now that the government's failure to fund our schools properly is threatening the life chances of our children and young people. Whilst it is always an absolute honour to visit schools across Enfield Southgate to witness their exciting work and the enthusiasm of our children, the message I am getting from staff, parents and governors is that the serious funding threats and historic underfunding is inevitably having an adverse impact on children's education. Figures from the House of Commons Library show that since 2013-14, the block funding from the Department of Education for schools in Enfield Southgate has been cut by £6 million, in brackets 9.1%, and will decrease further. One head teacher has told me that as things stand, in just 2 years' time, her school will only be able to afford to keep her and one teacher in each classroom. The schools minister has proclaimed that the government has never put so much into education, but schools in Enfield Southgate don't seem to be seeing this money. The reality for some schools is that the cuts mean no deputy, no staff to do planning, preparation and assessments, no one to do lunch duty, and hardly anyone for special educational needs interventions. Schools are even struggling to afford statutory posts such as special educational needs coordinators. 50% of the school workforce is support staff. They are the lowest paid and have been completely ignored by the government. The cuts also mean fewer learning resources, fewer educational trips, and extracurricular music lessons are under threat. Schools have either already requested or are considering requesting financial contributions from parents. The situation could not be more dire, and I made this point in a packed Westminster Hall debate on school funding on Monday, 4th of March 2019. I spoke up for our schools in Enfield Southgate and for our school staff. I have been campaigning with schools for years to get an increase in school funding, and I have raised it in the House of Commons at every opportunity. I've supported the Fair Funding for Enfield campaign group, and I have even shown my awful dancing skills when I flossed for funding. Oh, God. But in one of the richest countries in the world, we should not have to campaign and protest or dance for the right to a decent education for every child. There is only one chance for a child to get a good education, and as we all know, getting a good education is a springboard for success in the future. The very thought that this is being threatened due to lack of funding is scandalous. Schools should be given the appropriate funding that they need to pay all of their staff and run the schools to ensure children get the best education they can. I am a school governor at 2 local schools, and I know the value of a good education. I will be campaigning for better funding for these schools.
And now for a couple of local festive events. The first is on Easter Monday, which is April the 22nd this year, and it's for you or anyone you know who is a steam enthusiast. And it says, Markfield Beam Engine Steam Spectacular. Visit this massive and magnificent survivor of Victorian engineering in operation under steam power. And the engine will actually be steamed at 12:30, that's the beginning. It lasts 45 minutes. And then again at 2 o'clock, and then again at 3:30 on Monday, April the 22nd. It's completely free admission, and it's the Markfield Beam Engine and Museum at Markfield Park at the Markfield Road entrance in Tottenham. Completely free admission, and you can probably find out more details on www.mbeam, that's beam.org. And the second one is at Ali Pali, and that's the following week on the 26th and 27th of April. And it's a family tree live event. Tracing your roots is easier than you think. Come along to Family Tree Live and we'll help you find the answers you seek with family history talks, hands-on workshops, one-to-one help, living history experiences, and loads of fun. And it's £12 if you buy in advance and kids go free. And you can book your discounted tickets online for Ali Pali at www.family-tree.co.uk.
Now here's your chance to have your say on the next phase of Enfield's cycle scheme. People are being invited to give their views on the next phase of the Enfield cycle scheme, and the council is holding a consultation on plans for the A1010 North phase of the project, which will run all the way from Southbury Road to Bullsmore Lane. Designs and consultation documents are available to view online at Enfield Civic Centre and the Ordnance Unity Centre Library on Hertford Road until April the 28th. Cycle Enfield, which is funded by Transport for London, will eventually create a network of cycle routes across the borough. Work has already finished on the cycle lanes along the A105 Green Lanes, with the A1010 South phase currently under construction. The scheme has been designed to encourage people to take up greener, healthier forms of transport and ease congestion as London's population continues to grow. But it has divided opinion, with some shopkeepers complaining the A105 green lanes has led to drop in their revenue, while cyclists claimed they had improved safety. Similar cross-borough cycle projects are underway in Waltham Forest and Kingston.
And now some tips to help you sleep. Bedtime rules for better sleep. There's nothing better than waking up feeling completely recharged after a good night's sleep. But how often does that actually happen? Sleep expert Dr. Narina Ramlakhan says, generally speaking, people tend to fall into two categories: sensitive sleepers and martini sleepers. Sensitive sleepers are vulnerable to wake up at the slightest noise, she says, but martini sleepers, meanwhile, are those lucky people who can sleep anytime, any place, anywhere. Wondering what you can do if you're more than sensitive sleeper than a martini sleeper? Here, Ramlakhan shares her 5 non-negotiables which she believes can change your relationship with sleep. First of all, don't skip breakfast. Not only is it the most important meal of the day, vital for energy and concentration, but breakfast can affect your sleep too. One of my big non-negotiables is eating breakfast, she says. It's common for people to wake up feeling anxious as they prepare for a busy day. If you wake up worried, you're putting your nervous system in overdrive. If you often feel this way in the morning, Ramlakhan recommends eating within the first half hour of rising so that you can stabilise your blood sugar levels. Stabilising your blood sugar enhances your body's ability to produce the hormone melatonin, which is needed for sleep later in the day. Secondly, cut back on caffeine. You might feel like a cup of coffee is exactly what you need to keep you alert after a bad night's sleep, but relying on caffeine can become a vicious circle. Cutting back on caffeine can hugely enhance your sleep, says Ramlakhan. Ideally, you should avoid having caffeine after 4 p.m. As well as coffee, it's advisable to avoid tea, fizzy drinks, and green tea. Thirdly, stay well hydrated. Another non-negotiable is making sure you're staying hydrated, she warns. 1 litre to 1.5 litres a day should do the trick. Not only do you lose water throughout the night, but being well hydrated can help reduce awakenings caused by dehydration, such as cramps, she adds. Fourthly, go to bed early. You should try and go to bed early about 3 or 4 nights a week. This is about training your body to receive rest earlier. It might be tempting to stay up and watch that extra episode on Netflix, but this can throw your sleep patterns completely out of whack. A lot of people who I work with these days are going to bed too late. 3 or 4 nights a week, you should aim to be in bed by 9:30. You don't necessarily have to be sleeping, but doing something that is restful. This might be reading a book, listening to soothing music, meditating, or writing in a journal. And lastly, set technology boundaries. The 5th non-negotiable is about having healthy boundaries with technology. This means leaving electronics out of the bedroom. Small adjustments include having an electronic sundown about 45 minutes before you go to bed. Withdraw from technology during that time and setting yourself up for rest and sleep.
And finally, Spurs' new football stadium will provide major economic boost. Tottenham Hotspur made an emotional return to Haringey on Wednesday night as the new 62,062 capacity stadium opened its doors for its first Premier League game. The club have been playing at Wembley Stadium since May 2017, whilst the new multi-purpose venue has been built, but they have finally returned to their spiritual home in Haringey. The council has been working with the club ahead of the big opening and, following 2 test events, gave final approval for the stadium to officially open its doors. Council leader Councillor Joseph Ejiofor attended the match and said, "We are thrilled to welcome Tottenham Hotspur back to their home in Haringey and to see them performing at one of Europe's biggest and best stadiums. The victory on Wednesday night was an outstanding way to mark the opening of the new stadium. Spurs keep our borough on the world stage, and we can't wait to welcome visitors from across the globe for matches, NFL games, concerts and other world-class events. The stadium will provide hundreds of jobs for residents and provide a major economic boost to local businesses. Our number one priority is that this stadium works for our residents, and we will continue to work with the club to ensure people in Haringey feel the benefits of this fantastic destination. The new stadium development will bring in jobs, housing and a major economic boost to the area. Through the Northumberland Development Project, the club has built 256 affordable homes elsewhere in North Tottenham and a 400-pupil primary school. This is part of the council's wider vision for North Tottenham, aimed at improving the area for people living there. The council's 2,500-home High Road West scheme will deliver high-quality council homes at council rent, which will be managed by Homes for Haringey, plus affordable homes for local people. It will also deliver jobs, a new library and learning centres, a civic square, green spaces including gardens, a play area and an outdoor gym, plus shops and restaurants. There will be more than £10 million in social and economic support for businesses and residents. With the new stadium's increased capacity, there will also be some changes around the stadium when it comes to travel and road traffic management, controlled parking zones and the closure of roads in the build-up to the game. Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy said, "We did not just want to build a stadium. We wanted to change the prospects for those that live in this part of London and for our stadium to be the flagship development that started its regeneration. We see it as bringing hope, prosperity and uplift to Tottenham, embracing the local community, building on the character and talents of the area."
Well, we have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Romany, Ros, Maureen, Katherin, Hass on the controls, Phillip from production, it's
Bye.
Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet in a closed position and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget, you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking newspaper on 020 8805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. And a final reminder that there will be no recording next week because of the Easter break. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you again in 2 weeks' time.